wanted to get into tonight. I don't know if you have the energy, but I wanted to finally get out of the way once and for all and settle this. Friday the 13th movie is ranked. Okay.
Yes. And I'm looking at the list because I made that list months ago, and so I'm like, this better still be true. I don't know.
Do you want to table it for another night?
No, it's okay. So I might have there's some interchangeables, like, depending on the day, it can kind of go around a couple of them, but.
Okay. Because I'm really curious. Robert and I both are huge Friday the 13th fans, but not only is Robert a huge fan, but he knows the history probably better than anyone. And you've been to most of the locations, if not multiple locations from most of the movies. And I'm really curious about
the West Coast ones. Yeah. So, but
I've never read your list either. I think I looked at like the last one and the first one. That was
gotcha. Just see where we actually land on things. So,
right. Okay. So number one, Robert, what do you have for your?
I will always have part 4, the final chapter. Yes. First one I saw in the theater, and to me will always be Jason at his nastiest best.
I think most people agree with you too.
It has the best rain. It has the best final girl. Tom Savini, just everything clicked right for it.
True. Yeah. It has a great special effect where when she falls out of the window, she changes into a stuntman.
Hey. You're thinking of part 7.
Oh, is that 7?
Yeah, 7 is, yeah.
Is it 7? It is 7. You're absolutely right.
It is 7.
My apologies. Yeah, that is a great scene. I need to just loop that into a GIF or something like that. It's just perfect. But 4 is also considered the best. And have you seen the alternate ending that they had that they never? Yeah. What did you think about that?
I don't know. I think it could work. The thing is, it was still a dream or whatever, and you always did wonder what happened to mom. That he kind of scared her to death, or you're not quite sure. I remember in Fangoria, it said that he drowned her, but you never saw anything. I was like, well, and I was always curious, is that part of the original script, or was there a hot tub in the backyard, or what happened? And then so I think that's what from the original script. There's kind of maybe assumption that she was somehow drowned in a bathtub upstairs.
Yeah. And it has Corey Feldman in it too.
Yeah, and I've been in that bathroom.
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
Check out Robert's page, setjetter.com, for Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter.
Yes.
With the iconic knife through
one of my favorites locations.
Yeah. 4 is one of my favorites too. I have Friday the 13th, part 3 as my all-time favorite. Not as good as the film as 4, but it's the first one I ever saw, so I've kind of always loved this one more than the other ones. As a kid, I think I've seen this more than more times than any other one. And it's cool. It's the first one he has his hockey mask. It has the barn in there, which is like a very sacred kind of bucket list thing that you've been to. So yeah, 3 is always like a fun ride.
And it's a good Jason too. This is our first kind of big lumbering Jason, not messing around.
Yeah.
It's you.
I mean, when she's in the lake and you see him looking out the window, I mean, it's menacing.
Yeah, no, it's also a scary Jason. And I was gonna say Richard Brooker kind of, I think, set the stage for future Jasons, because part 2 Jason was he's a little bit Scream, Ghostface, kind of being tumbling around and stuff like that. It was pretty easy to knock him over. At this one, he wasn't messing around, and I agree. The barn, I did forever, and obviously they revisited the barn, and they came back and did a barn in part 5 and stuff like that too. So they knew what they had and kind of what worked. So the reason it's probably lower on my list, because I'm like, there was no rainstorm, which they couldn't because of the 3D, and then some of the acting.
Ray Tell, what are you talking about? You mean like the gang?
Yeah.
Shelley
was right. Yeah, there's just some ludicrousness. I was like,
it was ridiculous.
So, but it's more enjoyable to shout those lines out, which I did on Look. Yeah, but
watch Robert's video on YouTube as well. It's on Sean Clark's Malfunction is the YouTube channel. It's a great video. I think I watched it like 3 times. You did a very good job.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
I didn't see your friend Brian in that too.
He was around. Yeah, I think you can see him around. So
cool. But okay, so Friday 13th part 3 is my all-time favorite. What is yours? Next
my number 2 is actually part 2, and this is where they get a little bit interchangeable. But yeah, the reason I like part 2 is, like, one, obviously it's kind of our first new Jason. It probably has one of the best final girls as well with Amy Steele. It has great Rainstorm.
Itsy bitsy spider.
The yeah, well, okay. There's some stuff you're like,
I'm
well,
not making fun of it.
Yeah. Where's
No, I
Alice
like
at?
it.
Yeah, is she in California or is she back in Blairstown? Obviously, because Jason's not traveling around. We don't
And didn't they
think.
film it in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Like the casino and all that was Connecticut, right?
Yeah. So that I think it was almost all Connecticut for
Okay.
part 2. But yeah, so yeah, and anytime they bring the last final girl back, whatever. So I kind of like that continuity. So Steve Miner, his first, I think it was his first film that he directed. So
yeah,
but
yeah, I like 2 as well. I think it's a great film. The Jason reveal at the end, and in the woods with the mother and the cop, always kind of freaks me out.
Oh yeah, I forgot. See, and this is where I always feel I'm like, oh yeah, they even got Betsy Palmer to come back for a cameo.
I mean, the biggest problem with the movie is the police officer's uniforms. He's wearing like jeans. He's supposed to be a state trooper. Come on.
I think you're gonna have a list of bad cops in horror movies.
Oh yeah, number 1 is the orange light police from that movie.
I know that you hate Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
It's awful.
There's everything that I know you can't stand. So it's like worst cops in horror films.
What a stupid man for me to be like, the cop wasn't convincing. It's like, it's about a guy, with superhuman powers. But yeah, two's a good choice.
Yeah.
I have Friday. What were you gonna say?
I said, and it has also one of my favorite kills, which is always weird to say, but Mark in the wheelchair.
Oh gosh.
With this just and then it's like yes. One, he's always so many things. He's a nice guy or whatever, right in the face, and then he has to go down all those stairs.
Oh
yeah. So it's like poor
there
guy.
There are brutal kills in there. There really are. The rain's good in that one too.
Oh yeah. See, I love a good. And we have good rainstorms here. I call them Friday the 13th rains is what we're having.
Oh, really? When it rains like really bad.
Yeah. And that's I'm like, oh, this is a perfect Crystal Lake rain. Yeah.
Yeah. It sets the whole mood.
Yep.
But yeah, I have Friday the 13th part 4 for mine, which we just covered. So I'll skip over that. But fine film. Probably the best one. And you have
I have part 3 as my number 3. So which we discussed a little bit already. But yeah, like I said, all the reasons above. There's a lot of I just have a couple cons to it that keep it lower on the list.
And the house that they pick up, is it Chrissy in the movie?
Vera,
I mean.
Yeah.
That you filmed that, or shot that. It was actually like moved or something, that house?
Yeah. So it was kind of not too far from the Melody Ranch. And then it wasn't until later. Later that I found out that they actually picked up and moved that house. So I remember one of my last trips out there, I was like waiting for the gate was open. I don't know why I was following all the rules. I'm like, well, it says you're not supposed to go until noon, and like nobody was around, but I still waited. So
yeah. Hey,
I was being good just in case.
You were being good. Friday the 13th, Harold and Edna's house. The one that on
the store.
Bouquet Canyon, the store, I mean, not the house. That they it didn't burn down but it was demolished or something. I think next time you go up there with somebody that hasn't been there before, like Brian or a friend, be like, oh, there's still like a rumor like Harold and Edna still like lurk around the property. And I'll come out of the woods in drag as like an old Edna and be like, get that rabbit out of here. You're like,
God damn it, Harold. Don't I feed you enough?
Rabbit, the rabbit. It was just one of my favorite characters. Just for comic relief.
It is kind of strange. Yeah.
It is strange. That and the 5th one. Clean the shit out of the chicken coop, come back and I'll fix up a meal. Sounds good, ma'am. Like, do people just we'll get to it, but it's just amazing.
Crystal Lake's tough. Yeah. So what was your number 3?
My number 3 is the original Friday the 13th. Saw it when I was younger, was pleasantly surprised, did not know Jason would not be in it. I really didn't know nothing about the franchise. And I really enjoyed it. They play Monopoly in there. It had all the tropes of, all the stereotypes that have come in spoofs from movies were all started with this. As far as Friday the 13th things, Kevin Bacon. It's got a great twist at the end. I think it's a great movie. I love it. The archery, the kind of like archery's never changed since the 1300s. So you're like, that's still kind of fun today.
Yeah,
it's still the same thing.
Mrs. Voorhees is pretty good at archery, apparently. So,
what do you make of that?
yeah. So and I was like, when I kind of was growing up or whatever, I'm like, I heard about Friday the 13th and about Jason jumping out at the end. So I was like, all rumors I've heard about him before I'd actually got to see it. So I knew a lot of before I was going in to it to know. But then it always seemed like the cheaper one out of all of them. Obviously it was the lowest budget.
Yeah.
And then there's but I and I love. I think everybody loves Mrs. Voorhees, and one of my favorite kind of
great
memes that they have now is people like have the two Mrs. Voorhees or one she's smiling like when I first go into work, and then like an hour later it's like, God, this place.
I do that with or I've seen that with the Matthew McConaughey, where it's like me before work and it's him in like the Lincoln commercials.
Yeah.
And then like me in 10 minutes and it's like, not Silver Line Playbook, the Dallas Buyers Club, where he's like freaking out and strung out. I'm like, yeah, that's accurate. But yeah, Mrs. Voorhees had quite the strength in that too.
Yeah.
So
she was not messing around. Yeah.
She was not messing around.
Almost as strong as 72-year-old Leatherface.
Superhuman strength. But what I always liked about Friday the 13th, and that scared me in that, is the unknown. You don't see who's killing. You don't know that it's Jason. You don't know. Imagine seeing that for the first time, and not knowing anything, and the unknown of when she's in the truck, the car when she's coming into town, and the crazy Ralph and everyone telling her like, you're doomed, and it's just like I don't know. It's cheaply made, but it like does the job.
God damn it, Ralph, get out of here.
Ralph, get out. And I love scenes where all the townsfolk are just hanging out. It's like 2 PM and they're all drinking coffee.
They opened that place again.
Camp Blood. But yeah,
I do feel like that's what small towns are really like, though.
Right. Yeah. Where I grew up in a small town, there was like a cigar store where like some of the local men hung out, and they'd be like, I'm a baker. And he's like, I got to start my trash route. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be in class, but like I came in to buy cigars because I think I'm cool. Can you excuse me, please? You're all freaking me out.
Now it's a big meth town, I'm sure. So.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Okay. So you have for your fourth one?
I put, and this is where it's a little bit interchangeable because I feel like I kind of go back and forth between the next two, but at that time I put part 6, Jason Lives.
Yes.
So it was this is like this is where I'm like, I might be switching, but I like, obviously this is a slick version of Jason. And it was kind of this is where they really began to hit the mainstream, with music videos and stuff like that. So it was good, as good cinematography. It added more humor to the series than it had before. So and they brought
Green.
Yeah, brought Tommy Jarvis back, and I liked it. Yeah.
I did like you and I think both have 6 as number. Yeah, on the same thing. Same thing as you. I think they brought a little more humor into it. It was better in terms of like they had to redeem themselves. That's why they put Jason Lives in the title after Friday the 13th. A New Beginning, part 5. So they had a little bit to prove with this one, and it's cool, and it still features my number 1 favorite filming location shot that Robert has ever done, and that is that gas station, the general store. It was one of the first ones I've ever seen on your website. Yeah. Because I went to that. And before I really met you, and I was like, oh, this guy really went down to like wherever that was, Georgia or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you really got out there. It was amazing.
That 2-minute visit meant so much too.
It did. I've talked about it on 6 shows already. It means a lot. But it's a great, I think it's a good entry in the franchise. And it's fun.
Yeah, it was a good reboot. So
he doesn't kill kids. No. He has a sort of ethics to him. Michael Myers probably has.
Yeah, he has now.
Freddy definitely has. That's his thing. But like Jason has a code.
Yeah. It's like Dexter,
He's like Dexter.
That's all.
He's like Dexter. I have Friday the 13th part 6 for mine.
Gotcha.
What is your 5th one?
Some of these are in weird order. So this is actually part 5, A New Beginning. So this was, I remember I saw on my birthday, my 15th birthday, I saw this in the theater. I waited till the next day it came out. And so I was so excited to, obviously I was, 14-year-olds at the time when the final chapter came out, and I was like, it's the last one. So, and then I remember in the back of Fangoria magazine, there was just like Friday Part 5 is we're going to begin production. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited.
Yeah, you're in the zone.
Yeah, I was like, I can't wait.
I think as a 15-year-old seeing that, like walking out of the theater, what was your thoughts?
Kind of like, what? Like,
yeah, like how do you process that? Like what was that?
I mean, and obviously even at 15 we're like, well, this isn't as good as the last one, and it wasn't because it wasn't just not Jason,
right.
but it was just kind of like, well, it went kind of way out there, and MPAA was not kind to this one at all for censoring the kills and so forth or whatever. It has fantastic rainstorm.
It really does.
And it has a fantastic and it has a fantastic barn. So
and it has fantastic comic relief, indirect comic relief. Homeless guy comes up to a random house, is like, I need a hot meal. And she's kind of like, clean out the shit out of the chicken coop, come back and I'll fix you some stew. Like,
that is one ugly man out there.
That is and I just love that halfway house. It's like so derelict, you know? It's just there's like it's just so bad.
Everybody's unlikable, you know. It's
chopping wood. You would never give somebody in that kind of setting an axe ever. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And my dad will probably be listening to this, but I do remember at the time I had to seek out and go to record stores to find the pseudo echo album that Violet is robot dancing to.
Oh yeah. Did you?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what.
Awesome.
I had to find it. Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it has this is like the last grimy Friday the 13th, you know, and I think that's why I still have a love for it before it kind of became too mainstream.
I agree. And I'm not disowning it. There's still a lot of great scenes and it's still a fun ride, you know, for the most part.
Yeah. I don't think we guessed who the killer was, even though it was pretty obvious. we kind of thought it was Tommy because, you know, whatever. Because I remember when
at first
at the very end where Tommy shows up in the barn and we're like, oh, it is who's the killer then?
Right.
There's only one person left. And he looked at the screen 3 times.
When my buddy John and I watched these, we watched them all in order for the most part, like around 12 years old, maybe 13. I think mostly 12. But I saw 3 on like TV unparented at night or something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So we started watching these, and I remember when we got to 5, I was like, no, it's Tommy, like this, it's him, you know. 12-year-old Matt Clark knows. And then when it wasn't, I was like, what the hell was that? But it's still like, I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun movie.
So
do you own any memorabilia from 5 or like anything?
No, I don't think I own anything from the Friday the 13th, actually.
I thought you had like press kits or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I was thinking props and stuff like that. So,
oh yeah.
So I have press kits and all the books, even the original novelizations and stuff like that.
That's
so
cool.
I have a bunch of Friday the 13th stuff, just no actual props.
I'd imagine those are a little tough to get.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll be curious. We're talking about when I'm probably going to go back to the Melody Ranch in April. The owners of that, he has a lot of the Part 3 props still. So I was hoping one day that he'll show them off. Yeah,
it's awesome. We'll have to look out for that.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Okay, I have Part 2 for my number 5. You know, it's fun. I like it, but it was never my go-to. The Age of the Girl kind of was always weird to me.
Which one? Amy Steele, or
no? In the beginning, the chick that gets killed with the guy.
Yeah,
she was like 14 at the time or something. She was uncomfortable doing the movie.
Who? The chick that
I'm Matt Clark, and I have all the facts, everybody. I'll tell you.
So Alice gets killed at the beginning of Part 2.
Yeah, not her.
Yeah.
The girl with the curly hair that like they
play
the joke on them.
Yeah,
you know, and they get their car code.
Yeah,
she was really young, and it was like I remember some of the cast members in an interview or something I read were like, yeah, they wanted her to like do some scenes, and she wasn't comfortable with. Like she was like a young kid.
Yeah. Well, she's now the oldest looking cast member, so
she is this. But yeah, so we talked about 2, but yeah, you know, not my favorite, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's set the Jason stage. forever.
Set the stage.
Yeah.
Certainly did.
And I think we actually have to thank Amy Steele for not doing part 3, because they wanted her to come back, and it's more or less going to be a part 5 where she was in a either not halfway house but some hospital, and
Oh, really?
Jason coming back and stuff like that, and Paul gets killed and stuff like that. So but I have a feeling that she just kind of just like, no, I'm done with this or whatever. But I also thought, if she did that, whatever, we might not ever have had the hockey mask, because they would have gone a different route. So
yeah, could you imagine?
No, and
it wouldn't be a thing today.
There could be just 3 Friday the 13th. We're like, oh, that was the end of that series.
Yeah, it would have been like Pumpkinhead or something crappy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought of that.
Remember the Friday the 13th? Maybe Netflix should do a reboot of that.
The other horror movie, it was early 80s, and there is a character with a hockey mask that killed people before Friday the 13th.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's something weird. I used to always see that in the video store, and I was like, it's not quite Jason. I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
But it wants to be.
It's a knockoff. Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So that's really interesting though. If she accepted that, if they made it like a 5 and that would have been it. Sort of thing.
And she has that script. I want to read it.
Really?
Yes. She's talked about it. I'm like, and I told her, I'm like, you just need to print off copies and you can sell that baby at conventions. So
is that what they made the script for 5 from?
Yeah, it was kind of based on the same premise, where she's at she's having visions of Jason. Is he real? Is he not? And stuff like that. So
interesting. And then I lost where we were. I'm not a smart man.
So my part 5, then your part 2, and then then I went off the tangent, like on the what if part 3. So now we're on number 6, which I put Friday the 13th part 1, the 1980 version, and which we already talked about. So
it was a dreamy Kevin Bacon. That's why we all love it.
Yeah. Helped. Well, he had a little bit of a career,
yeah, he's good. I have Friday the 13th part 7, The New Blood, where
that's what I have as my next one too. So
we can talk about it. It's realistic. It's the most realistic in the sense that if you're a telepathic, telekinetic kind of, troubled psychological mess, you usually go into the woods with your mom and your psychiatrist to hash out the issues. I've been there. I'm sure you have too.
Bad News Cruise.
Bad News Cruise. I don't know. 7 is cheesy. There's a lot of bad things in there. The music is the worst. The pacing is the worst. It just doesn't match up.
Yeah, I think
because I like the Jason in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the good news is, like, they were trying to replicate part 4, and so they had actually did a recap, kind of like part 4 did at the beginning. They actually brought back Walt Gorney, Crazy Ralph, to narrate that, even though he's not. I don't think he's credited anywhere. And then they go into the Friday the 13th old credits where they're all over the screen, but they have this weird Fred Mullins percussion. They have Harry Manfredini's score, and it was dun dun dun. It was like silence. I remember in the theater, I was like, what is this? What am I watching?
What's happening?
Yeah. And then
it just doesn't match up.
No. And then they launched into the weird Carol Ann lookalike girl, like daddy, and like
daddy.
Just weird stuff. Like Jason stole the bottom of the lake. What?
What's happening with that?
Yeah. How long has he been under there? And
that was weird. When she mashed into the kind of Carol Ann thing, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And why is he there?
I don't know. Who knows? When were these houses built? I don't remember. Where's the camp? They look like this is where the camp.
Yeah, right. Where what's this layout? I don't understand.
Yeah. So
the camp is there. It's not. All of a sudden there's homes like the Poconos. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
And it's like, why? And now I'm kind of like, why is this even halfway down my list? I'm not even sure as much as but it is one of the last true Friday the 13th, is like, we're going back to the woods. The others begin to skate off into galactic cruiser land. But
this is arguably the last Friday the 13th movie too, as far as like Camp Crystal Lake, Jason in the woods. It goes downhill very quickly after this one.
It does.
But
so that was your number 6, and that was my number 7. What's your number 7?
Freddy versus Jason. It's still in the same canon. I just think it's a fantastic piece of cinema, Robert. No, it's really not. It's really not at all. But it is fun. There are unintentional fun things and intentionally fun things. You kids need some assistance. Some of the kills are pretty good. I do like the cinematography of Jason in the cornfields. It's like kind of a little Children of the Corn thing going on. But yeah, the reason this is so much higher on my list as 7 is it's just not, I can't put Jason Takes Manhattan above this or like A New Beginning because it's not really Jason.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it earned this spot.
I'll save my comments until I get to my list.
Like the contemporary 2001 like rage metal soundtrack, Robert? I don't understand.
Even at that age, it was beyond me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with these kids.
I will just say the final thing I'll just say about this is it does not age well. And a lot of the lines from Freddie, the sexual lines, they really don't age well. Even to be for the purpose of being crass and funny, they're not good. Yeah. They're very cringe.
I'll just go ahead because this isn't the last on my list. And so when you talk about the cornfield, I'm like, all right, but then there's also this weird, like these kids get hit with a machete and they have this theatrical blood spray, that comes out. I was like, what is this supposed to be real? Is this really happening? Or they're coming out and you could just want to see the tubes of blood. People don't actually bleed that way.
It's like Kill Bill.
Yeah.
It's like just blood everywhere.
Yeah. And it started off a little bit okay. But I was also, I think the main character's name is Lori. I'm like, you can't, is it her name? I can't remember.
Yeah.
At first I'm like, you can't name a final girl, Lori, you just don't do that.
I do it.
And then I did like the kid on the bed, getting.
Oh, that was one of the best kills in the whole thing.
So there's pieces of it that I thought, oh, that's kind of fun and kind of gruesome. But then it kind of quickly, Freddy's afraid of fire. Jason's afraid of water. How can we use that? And it's not even true,
Oh, yeah. They're not afraid of those things. They were just affected by them. They should never call a first girl or a final girl Lori anymore. That should be retired, like how baseball players retire, like Jackie Robinson's number. Well, you shouldn't use that name anymore.
Yeah.
Unless it's like something to do with Halloween.
Yeah, and I know they spelled it differently, but I remember it's like you can't use Lori, you can't use Nancy, you don't do these things. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a terrible movie though. Friday the 13th, Freddy vs. Jason.
Ugh. All right.
What do you have for your 8th one? Oh gosh.
Jason X.
Yes. Jason Space. He goes to space.
But so I will give it this. It has probably one of the top 10 kills of the frozen head getting smashed on the desk.
Oh hell yeah.
And it starts off that way, like wow, and then you're kind of like, okay, this movie can be kind of fun, maybe.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, it's cheap sets and not, Uber, what do they call it? Not Uber Jason, but I'm not remember what they call him. When he turns into the robotic type thing.
Like the Super Jason kind of thing. And I'm with you. I always if I ever decide to rewatch this again, or thinking about it, I'm like, let's give it a chance. It's cool. It's in space. They're like doing this cool kind of thing. And then it boils down to the cheap sets. And you're like, I'm just going to turn it off and watch Alien Resurrection, I guess, something better. But yeah, I do like the ending, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It crashes back down. You're like, yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess.
I do. Now that we're talking about it, I do want to rewatch it and see how that spaceship compares to the Galactic Cruiser. Like, is it still better? I don't know.
Shot for shot, it's the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Maybe then we're like, oh, would you pay a few thousand to go on the, I can't remember the name of the Jason X spaceship. We're like, oh, maybe,
Right. yeah, sure. Let's do it. Maybe. Shot for shot.
What is your number 8?
No, my number 8 is Part 5, A New Beginning, which we spoke about. It's still a fun movie overall, but not really my go-to. It's not him. ADHD prevents me from getting past that sometimes. So
Roy's pretty strong. Yeah.
What's that?
Roy's pretty strong. He was throwing people through windows and
strong. Yeah, he wasn't messing around. Has the blue little mask on, which before the show we mentioned Robert, had his mask on. I got a picture of. I don't know what my point is of saying that. I just want to promote that Robert has the mask. It's awesome. But yeah, so it's not my go-to, but it's still a fun ride.
Yeah.
in the beginning. What's yours, sir?
Next one is this seems awful high too. Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. I'm not sure. Are you getting sick?
Well, I just saw this for the first time, and I saw the
Really?
description, Robert. Well, like last summer, I think I texted you. I think it was July 4th. I'm very patriotic. And it says that they roll the first one, the second one, and the third one all in one movie. And then you broke it down for me, and I'm like, oh, that's how it is. What do you make of it?
In first 60 seconds. It's my Jason.
It's my Jason.
And we're like, well, hope everybody knows what was happening, because if you get black and white and during a lightning storm, like, will she actually be beheaded? Who knows? And then you have the 20-minute prologue before the actual credits start, and I was like, are these everybody gets killed? I'm like, well, then now what? And then I don't know. I did like Jason Padalecki because I kind of like
for sure.
him as a final boy.
He was good.
And I always like to say that I thought they mimicked Alice's hair from the final girl in the first one, that he had the same Alice haircut.
I never thought about that.
The Alice Bob.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of, and I know we were
Good
like,
call.
well, this, these underground mines or pathways in Crystal Lake. And that's how Jason got from here to there. I'm like, well, not really. It's not like he can't run through the woods faster than.
Right. He didn't need to build the catacombs at Crystal Lake. It's like, it's pretty isolated. The prologue, though, is amazing. It's like 25 minutes. And then it's like Friday the 13th. You're like, oh, I forgot what I was watching.
Yeah. Was this the end? Or
what
the
happened?
End? Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah. They could have done a lot with that. It needed a refresher at the time. It would have been nice to see a good film come out from Friday the 13th. But that was just tough. That was a really tough one.
Yeah. That could be our last one. I don't know if they're really going to figure out.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do something. And for my next one, I have Jason Takes Manhattan.
Which is my next one too.
Both have that. So we can talk about that. It's really bad. It's just a really bad movie. There are some cool scenes in there. Particularly in the 5 seconds they actually did film in New York City. Otherwise it was Vancouver they filmed it in, Robert?
Oh yeah, because I went to the Vancouver location. So, and actually I've probably been to the New York ones, but I'm not gonna cover those. They don't count. Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not a great movie. They go on this. The high school goes, I guess some reward is to take them on this musky old freighter ship. It's not really a cruise ship because it's like kind of musty in this.
Yeah. Well, they got a boxing ring, they got a sauna, they got a club.
Okay. But it just wasn't inviting. Yeah. All the kids disappear. There was like a whole bunch of them, and then there's like 5 on a lifeboat.
Yeah. 2 chaperones total, I think.
2 chaperones for like a high school. I don't know. It's just it's a weird segment. It's a weird way to do it. I know that somebody just had access to the ship. So they're like, just write a script because we can film on it. So that's why they did it. But
well, I know the original script was actually going to be more New York and more stuff was going to happen, and then they had budget cuts, keep cutting it till it was kind of barely New York.
There's like 5 minutes of New York in the whole movie called Jason Takes Manhattan. So it's bizarre.
So I remember seeing this in the theater as well, and I remember that point. I was like 19, and I'm like, oh, this has gone so far. Like.
Oh, really? He knew.
Yeah, and it wasn't even enjoyably bad. It's like, and you felt embarrassed bringing people to it. I'm like, well, I gotta go. It's kind of, if they made another one, even if it looked horrible, I'm like, well, I gotta go see it.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
That's cool. You saw it in the theater though, for as bad as it was. To say that you at least saw it theatrically, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw all of them after part 4 theatrically. So
amazing.
First
I remember seeing movie posters for it. I was too young to see it. I was like young.
Kids.
I was like 10 or something. But I remember my grandmother, we were at the mall, and I was like, I want to see that. She's like, no, Matthew, that's trash. You're not allowed to see that. And I was like, oh, I'll be seeing it. And then like 3 years later, I did see it. And I'm like,
you're like, grandma was right.
Joke's on you. Looking back, she wasn't telling me it's bad because it's murderous. She just saw it and probably was like, this is trash. You got to stick with like, 1 through 5. That's what you got to see.
That's your grandma's telling you. After 5, it's just, it gets a little bit mainstream, and then it goes to crap.
Check out, if you haven't watched it, living in the city ain't no big deal. You have to have a heart made of U.S. steel. living in the city ain't no big deal. The cops don't get you, then the hookers will. It's a line from the rap song in the movie. Just great.
So good.
With that meat flying bag. Just hanging out. What's your next one, sir?
My next one was Jason Goes to Hell. So yeah. So
okay.
We kind of covered it. So yeah. And so what is your next one?
Jason Goes to Hell, Final Friday, which we covered.
Oh, gotcha.
There's a little worm
Jason.
in there.
Jason. Oh, gotcha.
I don't know. Can't watch it. Jason Goes to Hell was cool for me. It was the first Friday the 13th movie that came out since I got into the franchise. I got into it like in 91, 92.
Yeah.
When I started watching them. So I never saw one theatrically. So it was like a new one for me. Boy, did that let me down. It's just, there's some funny scenes. Like we should get punched in the mouth. Teeth are hanging out. And you covered this movie. You like filmed like the Voorhees house and stuff, which was kind of a weird element to me. Like, oh, they had this like nice house, like why do you
knew?
Who knew? But the little demon worm thing, I can't get past that towards the end.
And I went to what was then a diner or whatever they kind of, and then it became a car dealership. And I think somebody told me that's completely gone now. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
The Joe's Diner or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever it's supposed to be. So, Joey B's or something like that. So,
Joey B's, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it was then a car dealership, and then I think somebody told me that it's now gone. So,
oh really?
Sorry.
Was that in Vancouver?
That was Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks. Oh, I gotta check that out. I did see your page for that. That's a shame if it's gone.
Yeah, well, a few fans got to go to it. So, and I think the actress Joey B, I can't remember her name right now. She's the one that kind of told me where it was or what city it was in. I was able to track it down that way.
Really?
So, yeah, because I think I just reached out to her because nobody had found it, and I think I was, you're looking for diners, not for car dealerships.
No, I wouldn't be able to find it.
Yeah, and I think she goes, I think I was in Thousand Oaks, and I think I just started messing around and found it then. So,
man.
But anyway, yeah. So this is kind of like when you talk about this is not really a Jason movie. It truly is not either. And when Jason is in the movie, he's this weird bubble head. Like it's. Yeah. No.
Yeah. The bubble.
Well, it's coming out of his it's like popcorn looking.
Like, it's bizarre. Not my go-to.
And it's cheap, and I didn't like it.
It's cheap. It sucks. The movie sucks.
And I had a bad theater, not say bad, and we might have talked about this before. So I went to go see this at this time. It was called the Westroads 8, and I think it was the country's first multiplex. It was in Omaha. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they were like small, felt like 100-person theaters, and it was just like grimy and stuff and this is the only place it was playing, I think. And I was like, then you knew it was bad when New Line was kind of shuffling this off to barely release it.
Yeah, when they were just like, we're going to play it at this guy's garage up the road. Like, you can pay us there. That's it. That's where it is.
Yeah.
So that's our list. Your final one was, we spoke of Freddy vs. Jason, and mine was Friday the 13th, the 2009 version. So let us know what you think. Tweet us at the _podcast. We'll go to Robert's page at setjetter.com. Give us your Friday the 13th feedback. Let us know what you think. But I thought that was a good list. That was like a healthy, solid list.